Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Queen's Lair podcast once again. I really appreciate the support. It has been amazing. We are in season 17, and this is episode 2. I have no idea what I'm going to call it yet, and I'm probably not going to edit it down, so all of this will probably be in there. But I just wanted to say a few words about what is happening in our country right now. Oh man, I know that people have been through a lot, especially during this pandemic. We're almost a year into the pandemic, and we've been trying to mentally, physically, everything, trying to sort that out. And then we get to the elections in November, and it is just complete chaos. But we as a country, we as a country have been trying to figure it out. I don't think I'm really surprised at what is going on. And I know that some people have been, with their head down and working and all of that. And I saw a post of I can't remember who it was. They were working on set, and they had no idea that this was going on. Because if anybody works in entertainment business and you're on set, you could be on set for hours and you're not looking at your phones or anything like that. You may be filming and you come up out of hours of that and, break for lunch or dinner or whatever. And then you're back in your trailer and you turn the TV on and you see this chaos that we're dealing with today. And I don't even want to minimize it and call it chaos, because I know they're trying to use all these fancy words and everything on TV. And, this is domestic terrorism. Let's just call it what it is. I know they want to say insurrection, and yes, insurrection, that is the correct term. It is domestic terrorism. Okay? And let's really cut to the chase, because I don't really mince words like that, and I know that could be off-putting for people, but this is why I don't mince words when I deal with certain things like this, or just anything in business, personal, whatever. I don't mince words because I always want to know that I've expressed myself fully, and I haven't done that sometimes, and I always want to make sure that I try to do that as much as possible. But this is why I don't mince words with things, because I don't ever want to be misconstrued in any type of way. I don't want people to think, oh, well, she meant this and she was saying, no. I want people to understand this is domestic terrorism, and I don't care how you want to slice it. I don't care how you want to dice it. It is what it is. And on top of that, had this been black people, had this been some brown people out there, you would not, first of all, it wouldn't even have got to this. We watched people scale the walls of the Capitol. Now, let me give you a little background. If you are new to tuning into the Queen's Lair and you don't know who I am, let me just give you a little background so you can understand from the corner from which I speak from. I used to work for a media company that had not even papers, but like magazines, political-based magazines. We were nonpartisan. We didn't sit, in the Democratic space or the Republican space. We just reported on the facts and the news, okay? And it was a news media organization. And I was an account manager there for years. And I also became a director there after some time. I was there for almost 12 years. Okay. One of my jobs there, the longest stint job that I had was account management. And my job was to go into offices of different companies, law firms, and at some point I had the House, the Senate, the Library of Congress, and the embassies as my clients. Literally. So I would go into their offices, literally their offices of the members, okay? And I would sometimes teach them if they were around. I've met many a House and Senate member, some of which who are still in Congress today. Okay, there's probably not an embassy that I haven't been to that is stationed in DC. And I would teach them and their staff how to use the company that I was working for, their legislative tracking services. Okay, so that means they could follow bills, they could follow, resolutions and all these sort of things and be alerted on certain things. Okay, so if you want to even get more technical for my techie people out there, I would come up with different searches for them. Boolean logic, if you guys are familiar with that, it's the way that you phrase things and the way that you type things in when you do a mass search. And you can also use it in Google and some of your other search engines. Okay, so that was my background for almost 12 years. So I worked in that political space for a very long time. Okay. I remember all the gatekeepers of the different offices and the chiefs of staff and all of that have met Nancy Pelosi, all of these people. I don't post a lot of that, of who I've, brushed shoulders with and all that sort of thing, because that's not my thing really. Every now and then I may drop a picture here and there and people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, because that's not my ministry. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really post a lot of that. But just so you know, the space from which I am speaking. And I will tell you right now, I have been on the Capitol. In that same Capitol building, in the tunnels from the different House and Senate buildings, because there's a system of tunnels underneath. And if you've ever visited as a citizen, the Capitol is very open. The House buildings and the Senate buildings are very open because those buildings belong to the people, the American people. And as long as you go through the metal detectors and all that kind of stuff, you can walk freely in and visit your member from your area that they represent, from your district. So it's always been open, and free for the people. So to see some people, the Trump supporters, who are scaling the walls of the Capitol like this is Mission Impossible, and nothing happening to them, no type of real consequences, is just, it's really not shocking anymore. It's really not shocking anymore. Meanwhile, all the Capitol steps, government buildings or whatever, ready for war. When our black organizations like Black Lives Matter, Until Freedom, if y'all don't follow Tamika Mallory, well, you need to. Educate yourself. It is unbelievable. Well, I'm not going to say it's unbelievable because it's not unbelievable. But it's still shocking, though. These folks took... Okay. Do y'all understand that it was a coup? Are y'all understand? Are y'all understanding that that's what happened? This is America. And I've seen a lot of posts of people saying, this is not who we are. This is not what we're about. Hell, yes it is. Because this has been going on for years. For years. Peaceful protests have always been, especially for black people, brown people, people of color, have always been met with such disdain and force and what have you. And today, these folks stormed the Capitol. No, they didn't just storm the Capitol. Not only did they get up the steps, but they got into the rotunda, which is an open space for the people. So you get in there and you desecrate the place, right? You're taking up all types of, statues and podiums and walking around and doing all types of craziness. Then you find your way into the speaker's office, which, by the way, is like Fort Knox. You're not just strolling up in there, or so we thought. And you get into the office, and then you trash the lady speaker's office. You bust out windows. You go down onto the floor of where House and Senate members vote. And you bust your way in, having people squatting and crawling for their lives because they don't know what's coming next. I don't understand how this has gone on. I saw a clip, and I may post it on my Facebook, or maybe I'll post it on my Instagram, whatever it is. I saw a clip of them, and when I say them, Capitol Police opening up the barricades and letting the protesters in. Now, I don't know if that's some sort of tactic. They would rather let them in and let them just, tire themselves out, kind of like when a kid is crying and you let them cry it out, because it's just easier than, fighting with them or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, just let them get tired. I don't know if that was the plan, but it failed horribly. Because there literally is video of them just the gates open. Even so much as turning their back to them and walking. You're not even afraid that there's a mob behind you. What is that about? And the thing is, all of this is happening because these folks are scared they're losing the country. Oh my goodness, Georgia done turned blue. It makes no sense. No sense. And now the Senate has flipped blue. You can thank us in Georgia for that. You're welcome. And this is what happens. This is why you're angry. This is why you came all through. You're scaling down walls and dropping into chambers of Congress and barricading yourself in places. Like, are you serious right now? There's nothing else that you could have done with your time. This is a democracy. But this democracy has been tested and, I tell you, mangled from the core. This country is not innocent. Let's just be clear. This country is not innocent. This country has so much blood on their hands for many different things. But there's not a country out there that doesn't. Because if you go to any country, even the most amazing, beautiful, and, wonderful countries, there's going to be somebody that suffered at the hands at some point, somewhere, by their government. That's just life. So I get that. But this is some of the most egregious, and I just can't believe. You would think I was like 85 years old and I have seen so many things. Like, I'm in my 40s watching a coup, an attempted coup taking place in the United States of America in 2021. After what we have been through in 2020, just on a regular day, with the pandemic spread across on top of it, right? And then not even a week into 2021, we're trying to take over the Capitol. And when I say we, I mean American people. I don't even identify with that. I don't want to say we as in Americans, because I don't even want to identify myself with that. That's ridiculous. This is what these folks chose to do. You have every right in this country to protest. You have every right to make your voice heard. You have every right to stand at the feet of the Capitol and yell on your bullhorn and be mad and all that kind of stuff. You have every right to do that. In some countries, you can't even organize anything. You can't even organize a church group. So it's very free here, a little too free, as we can see. But that's the amazing thing about democracy. You are free to speak your mind, but when you do these sort of things in the domestic terrorism avenue, because that's exactly what this was, and there's hardly any retaliation from law enforcement, and then you have a sitting president who is watching all of this, who is truly not aggressively addressing this issue at all, making a blanket, whatever, as far as I'm concerned, weak statement doesn't cut it. Because you had a rally earlier in the day that just incited this. And not just this rally, but so many others all throughout the campaigning, even before he became president in 2016. You've been inciting this for years. And making people feel comfortable, making white supremacists feel emboldened. It's really... I don't want to say it's shocking, because it's really not shocking. It's almost, the shocking part is that, wow, we're really watching it unfold, but it's not shocking to me that it's happening at all. And the one thing that I can say is that I don't know what y'all are into or whatever, but I know what I'm into. And that's prayer. And we have to seriously pray for Biden. We have to seriously pray for Harris. We have to seriously pray for Stacey Abrams. We have to seriously pray for our folks at the forefront and spearheading all of this, because their job is not going to be easy at all. And people, y'all need to pay attention, because 2024 is right around the corner. And I know people are not thinking about that right now, but we need to really think about and start getting together now, because in another year and a half or so, 18 months, if that, campaigning is going to start for 2024. And I believe there's another congressional election in 2022, I believe. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. But there's just so much going on today, and I hope I'm saying that right. But I'm telling you, midterm elections, they're so important. I know we worried about presidential elections, but presidential elections are important. But midterm elections are even more important because those are the people that represent you in your district. So when you put these foolery, I'm trying to be good in 2021. When you put these jesters, idiots, jackasses, whatever you want to call them, when you put these type of people in office to represent you, this is what you get. This is what you get. And this is why flipping the Senate was so important. Thank you to my fellow Georgians who came out. And I'm not a native Georgian. I'm a native New Yorker, but I've been here for a while, so I'm weaved up in the fabric now. It's almost been 10 years. It'll be 10 years very soon. And I can't even believe it's been that long. We have to really pay attention. It was so important for Warnock and Ossoff to win. And my hat's off to them because let me tell you something. They got a hard job coming up. Really tough. I know Warnock has a great background. He has a great, driving force behind him. I know a lot of people didn't understand the Reverend piece and all of that. He is the senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. If you are not familiar with Ebenezer Baptist Church, kind of a tongue twister there. That is the church that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., also pastored before he was murdered. And the love and the support that Warnock is getting is just amazing here in Georgia. It's amazing. Ossoff as well. But they have such a tough job. Such a tough job. I really would love to see change. I would love to think that, we could just get past this, but we can't just get past this. We can't just sweep this under the rug. This was literally a coup in action, live and direct on national television, international television. The world is watching. You looked at this today. If you didn't know that it was America, you would have thought it was some, Venezuela when they had a rising up a year or two ago. Colombia when they've had things go on. You would never think that this was America. But again, if you really know the history of things that have gone on in this country, it's not hard to believe. It's just shocking that we're still dealing with something like this in 2021. I think somebody was saying on the news that the last time there was this type of uprising was in 1812. Like, I can't even. It's too much. But I would ask everyone, if you are a believer, and you know that God moves the way that God is going to move. I know we're all going through this for a reason. Not quite sure what that is yet, but we really need to pray. And not only pray, because there's the folks that just want to pray all day, but they don't want to have any action. You have to put action with you, with what you are doing. And I don't know what organizations you want to be a part of. I know there's always been so much controversy around Black Lives Matter or whatever. I absolutely support them and their mission for what it is that they're doing. Stop paying attention to the people that go rogue. Don't worry about them. If the organization's mission is right and true, take those mission principles and rock with that. There's always going to be people of some of the best organizations that are going to go rogue. We're not worried about them. There's another organization called Until Freedom, and they definitely fight for social justice. And one of their big topics, of course, is black people that have died at the hands of law enforcement. And they've taken on the Breonna Taylor case and Jacob Blake and, all of these different folks that have been going on, that have been going, their names circulating through the news because of the tragic ends that have happened with them. Tamika Mallory, again, she's a civil rights activist and known nationally, follow her. Her name is Tamika Mallory, and she is at the forefront of Until Freedom. We really have to find our center. And to be honest, if I'm going to put it in my own, personal opinion, this is what happened when God is missing out of the mix. And I know a lot of people are this not going to be the most popular statement, but it's true. When you take God out of stuff, this is what you get. And the thing is, the folks doing this stuff, they think they're Christians. They think that they are God-fearing people, and they have the divine right to not lose the country. And that type, I don't know what type of Christianity that is, but it is it is very telling when people have to say that God put them in this position, especially when it leads to evil. And this was nothing short of evil in every sense of the word. And our youth are watching this. Other countries who look to us for guidance are watching this. And it is a sad day in American history. And I almost, I would say I can't believe it, but I can. Because the coup thing was not far off. I had this conversation with my mom not too long ago. I was like, you know what? I think this man is trying to cause a coup. But I was thinking more he was going to kick and scream leaving on January 20th. But this piece right here, just unreal to see it just unfold on television in this way. Unbelievable. And to think I lived in the DC area for 15 years. I can't imagine what it is to live there today with all of this going on. And I lived there through all of Obama's presidency, which was an honor. It was amazing. But this is definitely a sad day. I never want to hear about loss of life. From what I understand, I think 3 or 4 people died in the process of this. And I don't ever want to hear loss of life because God gives life. You know what I'm saying? Whether those people were a part of this, the people that lost their lives today were a part of this or whatever, I will never say anyone deserved this or that or whatever. That's not my place. I can have my personal opinion on that, but that's not my place to speak on that because I'm not God and I don't, give life and take life like that. But this is what happens, in my opinion, this is what happens when God is not in the details. And I'm not talking about being a super Christianese or whatever these, fancy, quotes or whatever that people use. But this is what happens when you take God out of the mix. Everything for me is God, family, and then business. Always in that order. And anytime I tried to do it differently than that, it always went left. Every single time. personally, professionally, every time. But we have to be a better example for our youth, because our youth, they're so impressionable and they're watching this. And this is a mess. And even though this is not our fight, and I'm talking to the black community, brown communities, people of color, like, this is not our fight, not this piece, but we have to get smart on our end and what we're doing. We have to get smart about how we spend our dollars. We have to get smart about how we vote. Because a lot of this is the result of who we, the people, have put into office. So that's my, 30-minute chat, rant, whatever you want to call it. And, I definitely will probably be speaking more about this, because this is not something that can be swept under the rug. And people know, that I'm a part of different organizations. I sit on a board right now, that centers around the empowerment of black businesses, black small businesses and things like that. So this is definitely in my wheelhouse, as far as this level of activism. And even my church, is involved with One Atlanta. That's another great group that brings together even different denominations, That's my small part of trying to do this, trying to navigate all of this. And I'm proud to do it. Get out there and volunteer in your communities and, all of that. I know it was a little bit harder to do a lot of that, since COVID has been happening. And if you're not able to get out, or you are in an area where, like California, which has such a high rate of COVID right now, you don't even want to be out and about too much, donate. Donate what you can. It could be clothes, it could be food. When you go food shopping, I always pick up an extra, 4 or 5 cans of, canned goods or non-perishable, type stuff, so that I can just drop it off at the local food banks. The food banks are overrun right now with people who need this stuff. And this is people that was making $50, $60, $100,000 last year to now not even being able to pay their mortgage. And we have a government that's fighting over just trying to give people $600. It's sad. It really is sad. But instead of us dwelling on how sad it is, because we do have to talk about that, let's dwell on what we can do to make change. Okay? So again, if you are rocking with Black Lives Matter, stand on the mission and the principles of things. Until Freedom is another social justice organization. As far as pantries, there's a pantry here in the Atlanta area, Hugs and Hope Food Distribution. You can Google them. I know on the West Coast, there's Minnie's Pantry. They do a lot within their, in the area in the LA. Help is needed in all different forms. And honestly, we need to get back to that grassroots type, each one teach one, each one help one. If we got back to that, we wouldn't see a lot of this stuff today. We honestly wouldn't. We need to get back to community, caring for community. And I'm hoping that this horrific display that we saw today will speak to people in a way that maybe words could not. And we would start making a change from the inside out. Because I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's impossible, but it's going to be work. It's going to be work. Pray for our country, you guys. We got a lot of work to do. I'll talk to you again next time. This is the Queen's Lair. This is season 17, episode 2. Bye, you guys.